Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my WWE NXT UK reviews for episodes 23 and 24, which aired on January 9th, 2019. These are obviously going to be the go-home shows for NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool, which I'm very excited because I'll finally be caught up so I can watch that tomorrow. Well, I won't watch it tomorrow, I'll watch it Sunday, but I'll get into, the reasons at the end of the video. But let's get right into, these episodes. How this review will work is how every review typically works. I'll watch the two episodes separately and then review them, and then obviously just combine it all into a big video. Let me do the preview portion of this. We're going to have the inaugural NXT UK Tag Team Championships tournament semifinals match between James Drake and Zach Gibson versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Very excited about that match. And I don't think it's happening in this episode, but episode 24, we're going to have British Strong Style versus Gallus, which I'm very excited about that match. That match I've really been looking forward to. So now that I've kind of done those previews, let's get right into episode 23 of NXT UK. Alright, so starting off with NXT UK for episode 23 that aired on January 9th, 2019. We had the first match on the show. It was Jamie Ahmed and Dan Maloney versus Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. And this pretty much was an enhancement match here. But Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan finally got their first win. Kenny Williams hits a suicide dive on Dan Maloney. And Amir Jordan hits a Swanton Bomb on Jamie Ahmed for the win. And they finally get their first win. It was a very nice moment. They looked very surprised, and I thought it was awesome. Afterwards, they do an interview where they talk about how they're finally happy that they're on the same page and stuff. But I thought this ruled. And then we have a promo segment by Gallus where Joe Coffey comes out and talks about how they're going to beat Mustache Mountain on the next episode of NXT UK, and he's going to beat Pete Dunne for his NXT UK championship. And then we had an NXT UK Women's Championship press conference. I like that they did this because it was something different that we hadn't seen before. It was between, obviously, Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley, since they're having the match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool. And Toni Storm gets asked if she feels like she's on the roll of her career, and she said that she is on the roll of her career, and that she's a completely different person than when Rhea Ripley faced her the first time. And then Rhea Ripley said that she's not a Toni Storm ripoff, and that, Toni Storm's never beaten her, and she's going to absolutely brutalize her at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool, and then they get into an argument where it has to be broken up and stuff. But this was an awesome press conference. Definitely give it a watch if you haven't seen it. And then Ligero does a video package talking about everything that Joseph Connors has been saying, and says that he's busted his ass for years to get to where he is today, and he wants to shut up Joseph Connors on the next episode of NXT UK. So I actually really can't wait to see that match. I wish they had saved that match for NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool, but I guess it is what it is. I'm happy we're getting the match though. And then we had Isla Dawn versus Xia Brookside. This actually was a pretty good match here. They both exchanged straightjacket submission holds on each other, and then they both exchanged roll-ups on each other, with Isla Dawn finally getting the win. But it was a nice little friend versus friend competitive type of match, and obviously it made sense for Isla Dawn to go over because they are a little bit more behind her. And you can tell a story with Xia Brookside where she's the rookie that's trying to get like her first win, and obviously, will eventually get it. And then it's also a build-up video package for Eddie Dennis's and Dave Mastiff's feud. And Eddie Dennis talks about how he's the most dominant force in NXT UK, and he's going to prove that at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool when he is willing to do whatever it takes to beat Dave Mastiff in the no disqualification match. And then Isla Dawn's backstage, and she gets attacked by Ginny, and then she says this proves that a queen is a superior to a witch, or why that is. And then we had Damian Weir versus Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin obliterates Damian Weir and beats him with the Irish Call. Afterwards, he goes to cut a promo, but he gets interrupted by Travis Banks. Travis Banks challenges him to a fight, but Jordan Devlin walks off and refuses to fight him. I'd imagine this is going to be a match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool. And then Mustache Mountain get interviewed, and they talk about how they're willing to face any tag team to become the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions. And then we had the main event. It was an NXT UK Tag Team Championship Tournament semifinals match. Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews versus James Drake and Zach Gibson. This was an awesome main event. Definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. Gibson and Gibson and Drake start off this match very aggressive. They completely annihilate Mark Andrews. They hit a doomsday device on him, and they continuously take cheap shots of Flash Morgan Webster, preventing him from getting the win. They hit the backbreaker springboard knee on the outside, and they just completely get the heat on Mark Andrews, preventing him from getting a tag. Then Flash Morgan Webster gets the hot tag. He hits a double springboard moonsault onto Drake and Gibson, and he obviously gets on a roll for a while, and then eventually the match just spills into chaos where Gibson goes for the Shanley Gates. Mark Andrews reverses it. Gibson and Morgan hit an assisted 450, but they're unable to get the win. Zach Gibson hits the ticket to hell, but doesn't get the win on Mark Andrews. And then, one-way ticket to hell. I forget exactly what it's called. But it was just it ended up being a very fun tag team match by the end. And then eventually Gibson hits a brainbuster on the ramp right onto Mark Andrews. And eventually Gibson and Drake hit an assisted one-way ticket to hell onto Flash Morgan Webster for the win. And they advance into the NXT UK Tag Team Championship match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool, where they're going to face Mustache Mountain, which I think makes sense. I think they're the top heel in NXT UK. And if you think about it, they have a history together, because obviously when Drake and Gibson came together, they attacked Mustache Mountain. So I actually think this makes sense. You have Tyler Bate in the past who's beaten James Drake, and then you have Zach Gibson in the past who's beaten Trent Seven. So I think this match makes a world of sense. And afterwards they get an interview saying that they're going to win at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool and prove why they're Liverpool's #1 tag team. And that was pretty much the end of that. But I obviously thought this was a really good episode of NXT UK. Actually, I thought it was a great episode, actually. I liked how they did everything. I liked how they hyped up the, 6-man tag on the next episode and the NXT UK Championship match. Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan got their first win, which was awesome. I liked the UK Women's Championship press conference. I liked Isla Dawn versus Aya Brookside and the continuation of Isla Dawn versus Ginny. I liked the continuation of Jordan Devlin versus Travis Banks. I liked Laguerro's video package. I thought we had a great main event. So I'm going to give this episode a B+. I thought it was great. And now I'm going to watch episode 23 and have you get my review up for that momentarily. Okay, so now on to episode 24, which aired on the same date. I think I forgot to mention the commentary team because I don't have it written down in my notes because I just have all these notes just jumbled together. The commentary team was Nigel McGuinness and Vic Joseph for this episode and the last episode I just reviewed. Forgot to mention that. The first match, though, was Laguerro versus Joseph Connors. I thought this was a really good opening matchup to the show. Laguerro immediately hits a Hurricanrana right onto Joseph Connors, but then they fight on the apron. Joseph Connors throws him head first into the post, and Joseph Connors just sadistically picks apart Laguerro. He takes him onto the apron and just hits some wicked shots right on the apron, and he pretty much dominates him for a while, but then Laguerro mounts a comeback. He hits like an innovative fireman's carry onto Joseph Connors, which looked really cool. And then Laguerro hit a really cool super kick. But then eventually Joseph Connors has the advantage. He's ripping at the mask of Laguerro. And they're telling him that he's pathetic, that he doesn't belong here. And he goes to attack him. But Laguerro reverses it and hits a springboard tornado DDT for the win. And Laguerro won, which I'm obviously fine with because I think this is a way for this feud to continue. I could see on a future episode of NXT UK, Laguerro get an interview or something. And then Joseph Connors just absolutely obliterated him. So I actually like this a lot. But I was surprised, though, they didn't save this match for NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool. But maybe because they only have like a certain, spots on the card, they couldn't fit this match on the card, and this feud really just started, so it's probably not fitting to be on the card. But I think Joseph Connors deserves a spot at NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. But whatever, I still thought it was really good. And then Zach Gibson and James Drake get interviewed, and they talk about how they're going to become the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions because of the best tag team in the world. And then we have Dave Massive's response to Eddie Dennis's words to him on the last episode. Dave Massive talks about how Eddie Dennis really isn't the monster in NXT UK because he beat him and exposed him, and he's proven that he's willing to do whatever it takes just to get the advantage on him. And Dave Massive wants to do things the right way. That's why he has to resort to having a no disqualification match against him. But Eddie Dennis is sadly mistaken. He says that he can be just as brutal as he can, and no one's pushed him like Eddie Dennis has in an NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. He's going to obliterate Eddie Dennis. This was a very good promo by Dave Mastiff. And then we had another match. It was Travis Banks versus Tyson T-Bone with Saxon Hugley ringside. It was a fine match. During the match, Jordan Devlin comes out dressed up as Travis Banks, and this obviously pisses him off, and he hits the buzzsaw kick for the win, or I don't know what he actually calls it, but it's like that springboard spin kick he's been hitting. Then afterwards, him and Jordan Devlin get into a brawl, and Travis Banks gets the advantage with the super kick, and he goes for a second spin kick, but Jordan Devlin rolls out of the win and escapes. This is now going to be a match at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool, which I'm really looking forward to that. It's probably going to open the show and be a really strong opener. And then we had a build-up video package showing everything that's been going on with the NXT UK Women's Championship match, which I thought was awesome. And then we had the main event. It was Gallus versus British Strong Style, which pretty much took up a very good portion of the show. I believe this match started like about 26 minutes into the show, and the show was 57 minutes. So it went a long time, as it should have. This is a big match, and I feel like, this match got the very appropriate amount of time, and I thought, this match really would have made everybody geeked to want to watch NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool. And this match was awesome. Just awesome. I really just can't even put into words how awesome this match was. It's awesome. Tyler Bate and Joe Coffey start off the match, and this kind of becomes a theme where each new time Gallus would tag in a new person. British Strong Style would do that, so that way everybody could have like a, could kind of feel each other out, and the referee would lose control a handful of times because each of the teams would get into the ring and talk shit to each other, and then it leads to like this big brawl where British Strong Style gets the advantage, and then Tyler Bate eventually inadvertently takes out Wolfgang, which allows Mark Coffey to hit a wicked suplex on him, and Gallus dominates Tyler Bate for a long-ass time, and then eventually Trent Seven gets the hot tag. He starts going off on Gallus, but eventually, and he hits a really cool suicide dive onto Wolfgang, which I thought was awesome. Eventually, though, he ends up falling headfirst into the barricade, and then behind the referee's back, Joe Coffey throws what's his name? Trent Seven into the steps, shoulder first, and they dominate Trent Seven for a while, really working over the injured shoulder, and then Pete Dunne gets the hot tag, and he just fucking obliterated Gallus. So he had an awesome X-Plex on Joe Coffey, and he did a ton of submission moves on Gallus, which I thought was awesome. He even like caught Joe Coffey like in a Kimura lock. Not Joe Coffey, Wolfgang in the Kimura lock when he went for the Howland. But he had, a triangle choke and then tried to get Joe Coffey into the submission hold. And eventually Joe Coffey hits like a reverse suplex on him. And then Tyler Bate gets the hot tag. And when Joe Coffey goes for the moonsault, Tyler Bate moves out of the way and hits the stand and shoot and star splash. And nearly gets the pinfall right there. And eventually Joe Coffey takes out Tyler Bate. And then Trent Seven gets tagged back in. He hits some awesome half and half suplexes on Gallus. But then eventually he hits the 7-star lariat, but he uses the bad shoulder And he believe he hit that on Mal Coffey. But then eventually they work over the bad shoulder once again. And pretty much then afterwards the match just spills into chaos at that point. Pete Dunne tried to like break the fingers of Joe Coffey. He hit an awesome enziguri on people. British Strong Style hit this awesome triple, like almost like a power bomb, like reverse DDT combination, I believe, on Mark Coffey, which that was awesome. And then Tyler Bate hit the suicide dive onto Wolfgang. Pete Dunne hits the bitter end on Joe Coffey, but Wolfgang had tagged himself in and hits the Howlin' on Pete Dunne, but was unable to take advantage of that. So Tyler Bate gets tagged back in. He hits his rebound clothesline. I forget who he hit it on because this match was just out of control. And then eventually Tyler Bate hits an awesome student star press right onto everybody on the outside. And he goes for the Tyler Driver 97, but it gets reversed by Joe Coffey. And then eventually Joe Coffey, when Tyler Bate goes for his rebound clothesline, catches him into a discus clothesline and gets the win. And Gallus won, which I kind of was surprised about. I thought British Strong Style would have gotten the win, but I think this makes sense. And it was an awesome match. Nobody looked bad for losing, but this really builds up, Gallus as a dominant faction. And it builds up Joe Coffey as a really big threat to Pete Dunne's NXT UK Championship. So I actually love this match. It's a great match. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to watch it because it's awesome. And that pretty much was the end of this episode of NXT UK. It was a great episode. I'm also saying that too because of the fact that half of this show was that 6-man tag team match. Mathematically, it's going to be a great episode. But there was some other things I liked on this show. I liked Dave Mastiff's promo, and I thought Ligero and Joseph Connors had a really good match, and I liked how they further advanced the Travis Banks Jordan Devlin feud. So I thought it was a great episode. I'm giving it a B+. It was great. If you had to ask me which episode I enjoyed more, this one or episode 23, I might say this one because this one just ruled. So yeah, this was a great episode. And that's pretty much the end of my NXT UK reviews. And I'm finally caught up because obviously I pretty much just binge watch like about 3 months worth of NXT UK. It was a long binge watch, but I finally caught up. But thank you guys for watching this video. I only have one more WWE related thing I got to catch up on, then I'll be caught up on everything. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video, you guys get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers and No One the Talkinator YouTube channels. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.